I'm the designer of Dungeon Hack, the dice game. And what I'm going to be doing in these series of videos is creating some instructional videos for parts of the game so players have a better idea and understanding of how the mechanics work, how the flow of the game is, how certain actions work, just so it'll help you play through the game. These aren't going to be full playthroughs. These are just going to cover specific things like combat and spell casting, movement in the dungeon, things like that. So to start off with the first video, I'm going to be covering spell casting, and there's a new feature I'm going to be incorporating in the game, and it's called spell cards. So I had this great idea given to me by one of the playtesters, David Griffin. And one of the concerns was the wizard's not really incorporated in the game enough. Either you're not casting enough spells, or you have to lock up your dice on the spell book that you can't use during the game just to cast a spell. And what happens is you tend to not cast any spells or really utilize the wizard. And that's not what I want. I want the wizard to be a big part of the game. So what I've done is I've developed this idea that David gave me and created spell cards to go with the spells that are on the spell book. So these spell cards that I've created, there's one for each spell on the level 1 and level 2 spell books. And each spell will have a title, it'll have a description of what the spell does, and the action dice that are necessary to cast the spell. So the way these new spell cards work is, instead of locking your dice before on the spell book and then waiting until you got enough to cast the spell, so here's you've got your 2 action dice and you can do Shocking Grasp, and then you have your spell book. Now you can cast Shocking Grasp, and then you would take this off. Well, the problem is you've got these 2 action dice that are locked up. They could have been used for healing, something else, and that's where the wizard takes from the game. So how these spell cards are incorporated is, now instead of using action dice to cast a spell, you'll take the action icon and place a cube on the spell book. And when the necessary cubes fill up the requirement for that spell, you then get to take the spell, the appropriate spell, and put it in your inventory. So in this case you'd have Sleep Spell, and you'd have that in your inventory, and you can now cast this at any time as long as you maintain that spell book on the wizard. Not so much maintain, but when you want to cast a spell, you have a spell book action, and now this spell can be cast at any time. These cubes always stay on the spell card or the spell book as long as you haven't cast the spell yet. So you're either building up to memorize the spell and be able to cast it, or once you've cast it and discarded it, then you can take the cubes off and use actions again once they're rolled to fill up the spell book. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to run through a couple examples of a turn and how the spell book will be incorporated by trying to memorize the spells, and then when you get the spell, putting it in your inventory and then actually casting it. So since right now they're just level 1, it's a level 1 wizard, we're going to be using this level 1 spell book, and we will only need the 5 spells. These other 4 spells are for the second level, so we can put those aside. So these do not go in your inventory until you've memorized a spell. Now you always want to have enough cubes to cover all the action icons on the spell book, and if you do become level 2 and you pull out the level 2 spell book, then you want to have the necessary cubes for that also, because you can cast from both level 1 and level 2. So we'll start this turn off. We'll do our normal movement in dungeon, where we'll come out of this junction and we'll do a quarter room. So we'll line that up. We move in here and we see what's available. So we have 1 trap, and it's a quarter trap, and then we have 3 monsters. So we'll generate these monsters. So we have a dire rats, giant centipede, and a goblin, level 3. So we have a level 3, a level 2, and a level 1 monster. Now I've already been playing this game a little bit just so I can get you into the middle of the dungeon and use this to show the instructions on how these new spell cards work. So first thing we always do is once we've set up the requirements of that dungeon room, there's no doors, we just have monsters and a trap, there's no treasure. We'll take our 10 action dice and we'll roll these. So we'll put these out here. Now, as I said, the way the spell casting works now is you will take these icons and instead of locking them, you will just take the image and match it up on the spell book. So I've got a thief. And of course, you always want to put our lockable dice down first. So, So we have 2 of these, so we get our cap, and this goes in here. And then we have the remainder. We have mace, so we can fill that up. We have 2 wizard caps, so we can do this one first. And now you'll see I have 2 cubes on here for attack initiative. That fills a requirement of this spell. So now I get this spell in my inventory. I've basically memorized this spell, and this is now a spell I can cast. It stays with me until I cast the spell. So we use the 1, right? We have another. So I don't have any magic items that I'm going to need to recharge, so I'll put it over here and hope to get a web spell. And then we have let's see, a sword and a dagger. So these are the available actions right now. So the nice thing about it, like I said, we've got a spell that I can cast. I'm still trying to set up some other spells to cast, but now I have these dice that I can use. Instead of having them locked on the spell book, they're available to use, which is great. So since I can cause damage, right, we'll start putting these on the cards. We have a wizard, right, and daggers. Okay, so see where that one. Oh, sorry, this is a wizard's hat. Okay, so now the action dice are on the character cards. Since I can cause damage, we have to roll through initiative. Now, this is something I kind of explain here, but we'll roll initiative dice, and basically what you're doing is if they roll equal to or less than their level, they win their initiative. So I've got a 5 and a 4 and a 4. So no initiative here for them, so now I get to attack first. So I have to deal with a trap, and I have to deal with these monsters. So first things first, I want to cast the spell. Unfortunately, I don't have a spell book to cast. So I still get to keep it. These still stay on here until it's cast. So I'm just going to have to do damage first. So this is one of these traps where I need to solve it. And each round, if I don't solve it, I take a point of damage. A random party member takes a point of damage. So, but I've got a lot of creatures here I got to deal with. So we've got a dagger. Now with the thief, I get +1 for dagger. If there's more than 2 monsters, it can be used from the back rank. So I'm going to use this right away and kill this 1 centipede, this level 1. And with the new updates to the cards, you'll see these victory points. These now are tracked. So once you've killed a monster, right, the thief gets his level, advancement, and there's 1 victory point. So we put it on our victory points tracker. And we have a thief. 1 thief's head can't do anything, but we do have 2 of the wizard caps, which will cause a point of damage. Or we can clear this trap out if we have 2 wizard caps. So I think we'll use those there and get rid of this trap. So we get rid of that. And these go. And that trap, you can use any wizard cap. It doesn't have to be the blue specific die. So now damage. So I can do 1 point with this and 2 points with those. So I'm going to do 3 points of damage on this goblin, get rid of him right away. So 3 points is 1, 2, 3, he's gone. And he's 3 victory points. So I'll give it, since it was a combination of cleric and fighter, I'll give the cleric the attack on and the experience on that one. And we'll put in 1, 2, 3 points of victory. And he's gone. Now I can't really do much with this. So we'll clear that out. And the direwolf will attack. And roll a d6. Roll a 3. Since it's a 1d3, a 3 gives 2 points of damage plus 1, 3 points of damage. So there were 3 monsters in this whole thing. So we will do 1, 2, 3. All right, for this round. If this was the only monster in this round, only the frontline characters would take the damage. But since there were 3 and everybody was engaged, this will still get spread out to all 4 players. Okay, so that now clears out this round. And we will now roll our action dice. Still got a locked dice for the random monsters. Alright, so 4. Good, so now we have a spell book. But again, to do our spell casting, to try and get more spells, so we have a spell book. Put a cube here. That now gives us sleep spell. So we get the sleep spell. Then we have mace, sword, thief, mace, healing hand. So we can put a cube here. And these guys will go here. And a wizard's hat. So put one there. Discharge. So now we put our icons on the character cards. These are action dice. And heal hand. So now I can cast either one of these 2 spells. And I can't get rid of these yet until I've cast them. So let's do a sleep spell. Now, I could save these if I want to, because I have enough damage. But now that I can do damage and I'd have to roll for initiative, I'm not even going to bother with it. I'm going to cast attack initiative, which means we get to attack first. So I will discard this, take the cubes off here. I will cast, or I would use the 2 mace, which costs 2 points of damage. 1, 2, 2 victory points. Cleric gets this level. And that has cleared all the monsters. Now we're not finished yet, because we have some things we can still do. We can heal, so we can heal the thief. Let's see. I'm doing damage, so we can put this here. The wizard, thief, and a spell book. So we're not going to cast any more spells. So that has cleared the level, or this round. So that is now the end of the turn. Since it's the end of the turn, our camp, we get 2, so we can give everybody 2. Alright. And everything gets pulled off, even off the spell book. But we still get to keep this card, because it's still in a memory. Oh, and we got to make sure that since it's this sleep spell, these are the only 2 will stand because we haven't cast. Because there's only one spell at a time, so you can't clear it and then fill it on again and get another one spell because you haven't cast it yet. So I'm still kind of playing with that, but right now we're playing it where you get to keep your spell cards, keep it on the spell book, and then on the next turn you just start adding to the spell book again. But it would be castable if you rolled a spell book on the next turn. Sure enough, you can cast the sleep spell. So that's how the new spell cards are incorporated, and that's how they're going to work. This instructional video is just, like I said, it shows you how you can start using spell cards in your game and incorporate casting spells instead of using the spell book alone. Now you get to have the actual spell to cast in your inventory. So I hope that explained how this process works with the wizard and the spells and spell casting. And if you have any questions, go ahead and leave them in the comments under the video. But thanks for watching.